I realized something was off the moment he said, "I'm fine," and then checked his phone 3 times in 10 seconds. He didn't know I noticed. But in that moment, I started paying attention in a way I never had before. I used to think understanding people meant listening to what they said. At work, in conversations, even in relationships. I believed words were the clearest window into someone's mind. If someone said they were okay, I took it at face value. If they agreed with me, I assumed they meant it. It felt simple. Clean. And honestly, it made life easier. I worked in a quiet office, nothing unusual. Same faces, same routines. Morning coffee, short meetings, casual conversations that filled space more than they meant anything. People were polite. Predictable. Or at least, that's what I thought. I remember thinking once, people are easy to read if you just listen carefully enough. Turns out, that wasn't true. It started with small things. That same coworker, Daniel, would agree with ideas in meetings, but later, his behavior didn't match. He'd nod, smile, say, "Yeah, that makes sense," but then avoid following through. At first, I thought he was just forgetful. But then I noticed something else. Whenever someone challenged him, even slightly, he'd lean back in his chair and cross his arms. Not aggressively, just subtly. Almost like he was pulling away without saying anything. And that's when it hit me. He wasn't agreeing. He was avoiding conflict. That was the first mind game I didn't even realize I was playing. I stopped listening to his words, and started watching his reactions instead. After that, I couldn't unsee it. It was like something shifted in how I observed people. I began testing small things, not to manipulate anyone, but just to understand. Like silence. One day, during a conversation, I stopped filling the gaps. Normally, I'd jump in quickly if things got quiet. But this time, I didn't. I just waited. The other person, Sarah, started talking more than usual. She over-explained. Added details I never asked for. Even contradicted herself at one point. I remember thinking, people reveal more when you give them space than when you ask questions. That was the second shift. Silence wasn't empty, it was pressure. And pressure made people show what they were trying to hide. Then there was eye contact. I used to think avoiding eye contact meant someone was lying. That's what everyone says, right? But one evening, I tried something different. While talking to a friend, I held eye contact just a little longer than normal, not in a creepy way, just steady. He smiled, but it faded quickly. Then he looked away, laughed, and changed the subject. That reaction told me more than anything he said. It wasn't about lying. It was about discomfort. I realized people don't just avoid eye contact when they're hiding something, they avoid it when they feel seen. And that was different. Another moment stayed with me. I gave someone a small compliment. Nothing big. Just, "You handled that situation really well." They paused. Then they shrugged and said, "It wasn't a big deal." But their posture straightened. Their tone softened. I noticed the mismatch again. Words dismissing it, body accepting it. That's when I understood something simple but powerful. People don't always reveal themselves through what they accept, but through what they resist. By then, I wasn't just observing anymore. I was starting to understand patterns. Like how people react to unexpected questions. Instead of asking, "How was your day?" I'd sometimes ask, "What was the most frustrating part of your day?" It caught people off guard. And in that moment, before they filtered their response, you'd see something real. A flash of honesty before the polished version came out. Not dramatic. Just, unfiltered. There was also something strange about agreement. I used to feel reassured when people agreed with me quickly. But over time, I noticed something. The faster someone said yes, the less likely they were to follow through. Real agreement took a second. Sometimes even a pause. So I started paying attention to hesitation. Because hesitation meant thinking. And thinking meant it mattered. One of the most uncomfortable lessons came from mirroring. I had read somewhere that people feel comfortable around those who subtly mirror their behavior. So I tried it. If someone leaned forward, I'd do the same after a few seconds. If they spoke calmly, I matched their tone. And something interesting happened. They opened up more. But it also made me realize how easily people can be influenced without noticing. That thought stayed with me longer than I expected. Because it made me question something deeper. How much of what we feel is actually ours, and how much is shaped by the person in front of us? But the biggest shift didn't come from observing others. It came from turning all of this inward. One day, I caught myself doing the same things I had been noticing in everyone else. Saying, "It's fine," when it wasn't. Avoiding eye contact when I felt exposed. Agreeing quickly just to keep things smooth. I remember sitting there thinking, I'm not just reading people. I'm seeing myself in them. And that was uncomfortable. Because it meant none of this was about them. It was about human behavior. Patterns we all follow without realizing. That realization changed how I interacted with people. I stopped assuming. Stopped jumping to conclusions based on words alone. Instead, I paid attention to the space between things, the pauses, the reactions, the subtle shifts. And something surprising happened. I became more patient. More understanding. Because once you see these patterns, you stop taking things personally. When someone avoids a question, it's not always dishonesty, it might be discomfort. When someone agrees too quickly, it's not always support, it might be fear of conflict. When someone pulls away, it's not always rejection, it might be self-protection. The mind games weren't really games. They were windows. Small ways to see what people couldn't, or wouldn't, say directly. And the more I noticed them, the less I felt the need to control conversations or outcomes. Because understanding replaced guessing. Looking back, I realize how much I used to rely on assumptions. I thought I understood people because I listened. But now I know, listening is only half of it. The rest is noticing what isn't said. These days, when someone tells me they're fine, I don't immediately question it. I just observe. The pause. The tone. The small behaviors that follow. Not to judge. Just to understand. Because the truth is, people are always communicating. Just not always with words. And maybe the real shift isn't learning how to read others. It's realizing how much of yourself you start to see in them once you do. So now, I pay attention. Not to catch people. Not to outsmart them. But to understand something we all quietly carry. The gap between what we say and what we actually feel. And if you think about it for a second, how often do those two things match for you?